from what Wygant was saying on a review show, the HEP guy said, "Hey, we don't want to take you any more nationals, but you can come back for SMX." And you were like, "No, I want to do the nationals," and they fired you. And they picked up Colt Nichols, as we know, which wasn't why you got fired, but they had Colt kind of sitting there. So props on talking about that, and truthfully, Shane, as we've seen in your results, like you never really gelled with the Suzuki outdoors as much as you'd like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. I mean, that's where it's been tough because there is a lot of truth in that. Where it's like, I mean, I want to do well and I want to represent the team well, and I was trying to do that the best I could, and it's like, it's on one hand, it's like you watch Ken Roxon ride the Suzuki and you're like, dude, I mean, the Suzuki's good. And on the other hand, it's like or maybe you see other people ride a Suzuki and you're like, oh, that doesn't look the same. And so it's definitely like, for me, it's like I mean, I love an underdog story, and even being a part of one, it's like, you know what? I mean, if Ken can win on a Suzuki, like it can be good. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of been my mentality for really the whole year. It's like, you know what? I mean, the HEP team is a smaller team compared to some of the other factory teams, and it's like, I mean, the resources that we had were more than some, but mm-hmm. not as much as others. And so it was like, okay, well, we have a problem to solve, and it's like, we're going to do the best we can to solve that problem. And so, yeah, it was tough because, I mean, I guess as an industry, you have between us and the Bar X guys, like, mm-hmm. I don't know what, maybe 10 people putting in effort to make one brand good, and it always felt like an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. Compared to everything going into the other teams and the other brands, but that's kind of like extra motivation at the same time. It's like, okay, hey, we can still do this. And yeah, I mean, I was really committed on finishing that. It's like we spent a bunch of time and money collectively to build a rock solid contract that I was happy with, my uh-huh. manager was happy with, and supposedly the team was happy with. And yeah, I mean, our terms were really clear, and I mean, that's where it's like, I want to be as much of a traditional handshake guy as I want to be a professional business guy also. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, giving you my word is my word, and my word is also in this contract, and that's what I want this contract to represent me also. So yeah, it was mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't because of Colt,
right?
But I mean, yeah, when Colt came in the picture a little bit, everything changed really from then on. And so it's not and I'm good with Colt. Like I talked to him about it. I'm like, yeah, it was a bummer that he got put in that situation, and he wasn't aware of it either. But I'm like, dude, I don't want you to think that I'm upset with you or that I think you've done anything wrong. And yeah, it was just kind of the circumstances that we were all put in. But yeah, it was ultimately they wanted me to sit out, and they weren't happy with my results, which I understand that.
Yep.
I wasn't happy with my results either, but I hadn't stopped working, and I still had a job to do, and I was still trying to do that job the best that I could.
Right.
And I was committed to do that for the term of the contract, and so they wanted me to sit out, and
yeah,
they just wanted me to sit out, and I was like, I'm not going to sit out for the sake of sitting out.
Right.
And yeah.
I mean, Benny, you got to admire Shane sticking to his guns, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought the Instagram post, like reading it the first time, I was like, oh my goodness. Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. Obviously, it was a, not awesome situation, but I thought it was cool how you handled it, Shane. Like, I think more people need to be like that.
I agree.
Like,
yeah.
Open about it. It's, not feel bad about it. And, they go their separate ways, you go your separate way. But, I mean, it looked like you had a good weekend, especially on Friday, seeing how the track was. It was like, ooh, Shane. Shane's a good mud rider. Shane could be really good, and then not a mud race, and he still does good.
Shane, do you like wrestling?
Like,
where are we at with the wrestling with Derek? Are we going to talk wrestling with Derek, or?
See, I watched it a little bit growing up because my brother was kind of into it, but that was more of a my brother thing. But no, I've worked with Derek before on the Rocky Mountain team.
Oh, so true. Okay, so right.
I mean, we've only really been working closely now for about a week, but I do look forward to getting to know Derek more and kind of unraveling those layers because he's we need him to talk or I guess be less stressed at times, and that means like what do you like to do, Derek? Like what gets you excited?
Well, wrestling, right, Benny?
That's the number. I mean, that's the number
you worked
one.
with Derek for a long time, so
wrestling and metal music.
Yeah, death metal and wrestling. That's really it. The man's got 3 passions in his life: dirt biking, death metal, and wrestling.
Yeah, well, he's doing the dirt biking good so far.
Right.
I'm impressed with that.
Yeah, and obviously Freddie Norman's been doing really well. Freddie had a little bit of mid-season slump, but he's kind of turned that around and riding really well. So Shane, like you're a factory rider for a long time. You know how these teams work. Mad Parts is below a factory team. Let's be honest here. But watching Freddie go 8-8 at Washougal, and I think his Supercross season was kind of underrated. Freddie's never been an indoor guy, but he was maybe the best he ever was this year. So that's got to give you confidence, Shane, that like, hey, these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, and it does, and it is, too. And that's where I think, just for me personally, every time I was on the track this weekend, like, my confidence was growing. The team was super professional this weekend. Communication was probably one of the best I've seen on any team. And it was like, it's literally Derek and Bubba and the 2 mechanics and 2 riders.
Right.
And so it just, like, I was talking to Bubba earlier, and he was just like, I mean, I really, because we had, like, a team meeting afterwards and just kind of went over everything, asking if there's any concerns or just, like, bring anything up, whatever. But then he called me today. He's like, hey, I just want to open the door for you to, like, say anything that you didn't want to say in a group setting or any concerns you had. And I was just like, I just love the communication because, I mean, and he even said, like, I have tried to build this team as something that I would want in your situation. It's like, as a racer, like, this is how I would want it to be if I was in that situation. And I think it's perfect from my perspective because Bubba has been there for a while, and he's been on the gate, and he's now learning the logistics side of the team and how to put that together. And it's like, what better, I guess, scenario could you have with that? And it's like he's done really well with it, and he's got a lot of good partners, and that's where I'm really impressed with it. Like I'm super pumped on it.
Yeah. Well, listen, this should be good. I mean, like I said, Shane, I know the HEP guys well, right? They're good guys. It didn't work out with you and all that, but like they told me a couple times, man, Shane we can't get him comfy. We can't get him comfy.
Yeah.
And you could point the finger at them, and like I'm not here to say that, but you just couldn't get comfy on that bike.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it was sort of like Benny's Husqvarna year.
Yeah, and I mean that's where it's tough because like I guess my main goal is to have integrity in any situation. It's like I don't when I'm making my contract in a private setting and having those discussions, I want to talk the same and treat people the same as I do then, as I do right now talking to you guys. And it's like I'm not pointing the finger at HEP. I don't think it went down or everything, we parted ways in a very professional way at all. But it's like I'm going to say things to an extent where it's like, hey, I have to be honest about it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to bash somebody because, like, I mean, yes, I wasn't very comfortable in the Suzuki, and yeah, I mean, it sucks how it went down. But it's like I know what I agreed to and what I committed to, and it's like I'm going to see this out, whether or not it's comfortable or not. So,
Benny, I mean, you've been there, I'm sure. Like, it ain't working.
When you can't get comfy, you can't get comfy.
And it's nobody's fault necessarily. Like, no one, either you're not speaking the same language as the suspension guy, or it's just so many things that come into it.
A lot. Shane, I do have a question. I guess you kind of talked about it, but does the pressure at all, like having only 3 races to go and switching to a new team, there's not much pressure on you, right? Like, does that help your confidence at all, or does that help you go into the race and it's like, oh, I can just be free and just, I don't really have to worry about exactly how I do, just go out and race and learn more about the bike as you go, which I think is cool. But do you like that, or are you a guy that likes pressure on you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think for me, I'm really motivated. I mean, obviously with being out there, it's like I'm not out there to just beat the yellow bikes, but I really want to beat the yellow bikes now. It's like you ride with that extra chip on your shoulder.
Oh, Colt was on you in the first moto for a little bit. Colt was on you.
Dude, we passed each other back and forth multiple times.
Yeah.
At the beginning of both motos. So I'm like, dude, we're straight up racing here.
Yep.
But that's where, like, going into this weekend, like I didn't want to make a rash decision for the sake of just being frustrated at the situation and not being wise about the decision of going to race. And but given the circumstances, like going out for practice, like it's been the easiest transition to any bike and team I've ever had. And that was where it gave me the confidence to, like, okay, like, hey, I'm not going to be the fastest, but I know that I can be on par with where I've been, and I know that I can grow from that. So for me, it's like my back is a little bit against the wall, which helps my focus and kind of gets me excited. But the main goal is the SMX rounds. That's really what makes all this worth it. So the 3 outdoors are right now bonuses, and just more seat time and more gate drops. But if we didn't have those, like, I wouldn't be that worried about it, because we have some good time. But now that we do, I think it's just a bonus because the bike was really good straight away. I was comfortable straight away, and now it's like I kind of jumped straight into, like, my normal training, and the goal is just to put the time in because that's how I'm going to learn the bike more. So, yeah.
Well, cool, man. Good job this weekend. You had one of your better moto finishes of the year, that 13th.
Thank you.
Right out of the bat, so that's pretty good. Good indication there. And, yeah, it's a really cool story. Shane, Freddie, Bubba, Pauli. It's a good little story developing here. So, thanks for the time, Shane. Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys, and thanks for the time again. It's I don't get on here much, but I appreciate the opportunity, and it's cool to just get to chat.
All right, thanks, Shane. Appreciate it, man. Good luck. We'll see you this weekend at Buds.
Sir.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
See you.
That's Shane Mcelrath, everybody. Wisco Piston bringing you that. What'd you think, Benny?
I like his honesty.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
and two, also, it's really cool to see the program that Bubba has put together.
Yeah.
And how much he's grown it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's like I said, Freddie's been doing well.
Freddie's been riding good.
Derek's holding that thing together.
Yeah.
I'm sure, I don't know how he's able to work on the bikes and the engines and also watch WWE Raw on his phone? Like, how does that work?
Multitasker.
And how does he go to the death metal concerts on the weekends, like, and do all that? So
he's pretty committed to. He'll fly from, do the bike build on Sunday.
Yeah.
Get done and fly somewhere across the country for a death metal concert Sunday night.
Yeah.
And then back.
Yeah. I was at the Sammy Hagar concert last night, and Lamb of God, an ad for Lamb of God came up coming in the Red Rocks Theater, and I texted to him, and he said he's hoping to make it. So that's
of course.
That's where we're at. He's hoping to make the Lamb of God concert. Benny Boss here, brought to you by the folks at Decal Works. Shane Mcelrath, obviously brought to you by Weisco Piston. Colt was on him, first moto. They were swapping spots. I put out a little Twitter thing about RV rubbing his hands together. So.
I wanted to ask, and then he said it. If the motivation was there, like you see the 45, your motivation's a little higher.
Or Chiz or whoever, right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
maybe not Kenny, but
yeah, it's kind of like when you have a teammate. Like there's times where it's like if your teammate's in front of you, you're like, I'll kill myself before I let that guy.
I got to be the
me.
number one guy on the team. Yeah, no, that's you guys are all like that. Millsaps told me that too one time. Like he's just like I'd be the number one guy on the team. It didn't matter if I was fifth or sixth, just as long as I was the number one guy on the team.
It's a good feeling. So it's like you don't want to be second.
Speaking of Davey, you're working with him still?
Yep.
Still doing all that? You enjoying that?
Yeah.
Yeah.